Hi boys and girls, happy Monday. Today we are going to be working on choosing our topics for our opinion pieces. Now our opinion pieces are actually going to look a little bit different than you might have thought they would, and we are only going to spend 2 weeks on this project. So we are going to start it today and we are going to finish it not this Friday, but next Friday. So get ready because it's going to be fun. I'm going to be teaching you a new strategy today called Writing to Change the World. Last week, we learned 2 pre-writing strategies. The first was called Walk Your World, and the second was called Scrapbook Your Life. So this week, we are going to move from the pre-writing stage to stage 2, which is the planning stage. Remember, in the planning stage of writing, we brainstorm and organize our ideas. So that's what we're going to be working on today using the strategy Writing to Change the World. Now you're probably wondering, but Miss Garcia, how do I write to change the world? Well, it's simple, really. All you have to do is think about something that you want to see happen, or something that you think could change, and then you use your words to make that magic happen. So when you're using the strategy, Writing to Change the World, you have to keep some questions in mind. You think of the world and you ask yourself, what would you like to see change in the world? What do you wish was different? And also, who could help you make that change? Now, this may be really surprising, but I'm going to be reading you a story today in Writing Workshop so that I can teach you about some friends who really understand the strategy, Writing to Change the World. They're the perfect model for how to do that. So, today we are going to read Click, Clack, Moo, Cows That Type, written by Doreen Cronin and pictures by Betsy Lewin. You might not have guessed that cows would be our expert today, would you? Farmer Brown has a problem. His cows like to type. All day long he hears click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. He doesn't look very happy about all of those noises either, does he? What are they typing about anyway? At first, he couldn't believe his ears. Cows that type? Impossible! Click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. Hey, we matched today. Perfect, I'm ready for a farm, I guess. Great. Then he couldn't believe his eyes. Dear Farmer Brown, the barn is very cold at night. We'd like some electric blankets. Sincerely, the cows. Look at these cows changing the world with their words. Just like Malala. It was bad enough the cows had found the old typewriter in the barn. Now they wanted electric blankets. No way, said Farmer Brown. No electric blankets. So the cows went on strike. They left a note on the barn door, and it said, "Sorry, we're closed. No milk today." So the cows had to think very carefully about who would be the best person to try to convince to get them those electric blankets. And they decided on Farmer, what's his name? Brown. "No milk today," cried Farmer Brown. In the background, he heard the cows busy at work. Click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. Oh dear, what are those cows writing now? I don't think it's going to make Farmer Brown very happy. The next day, he got another note. Dear Farmer Brown, the hens are cold too. They'd like electric blankets. Sincerely, the cows. Well, Farmer Brown didn't give the cows the electric blankets. Not sure that he's going to give the hens electric blankets. So they chose to write letters to Farmer Brown. So they're trying to convince him of their opinion by writing letters. So that's one way to do opinion writing. The cows were growing impatient with the farmer. They left a new note on the barn door. Closed, no milk, no eggs. No eggs, cried Farmer Brown. In the background, he heard them. Click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. What are they up to now? Any ideas? Who else might come into this story? Let's brainstorm some other characters we might meet. Any ideas? Maybe a horse. Maybe a goat. Maybe sheep. What other barn animals are there? I'm kind of stuck, really. What did you come up with? Cows that type, hens on strike. Who ever heard of such a thing? How can I run a farm with no milk and no eggs? Farmer Brown was furious. Do they look like they care very much? Not really. They just want those electric blankets. Farmer Brown got out his own typewriter. Dear cows and hens, there will be no electric blankets. You are cows and hens. I demand milk and eggs. Sincerely, Farmer Brown. I'm thinking that Farmer Brown's letter is missing something very important. You see, the cows and the hens have a very good reason for asking for electric blankets. Remember, the reason why they're trying to make that change is because, why? It's very cold, remember? But Farmer Brown didn't really give a good reason as to why they don't get the electric blankets. Though he did give the explanation that because they're cows and hens, he is demanding milk and eggs. That does make sense. Duck was a neutral party, so he brought the ultimatum to the cows. That basically means the duck had no opinion on the matter, so he was willing to deliver the letter from Farmer Brown to the cows. The cows held an emergency meeting. All the animals gathered around the barn to snoop, but none of them could understand moo. All night long, Farmer Brown waited for an answer. What do you think the cows are going to do? Raise your hand if you think that the cows are going to agree to delivering the milk and the eggs to Farmer Brown? Raise your hand if you think they are going to say, no way, we are holding our ground. Raise your hand. Duck knocked on the door early the next morning. He handed Farmer Brown a note. Dear Farmer Brown, we will exchange our typewriter for electric blankets. Leave them outside the barn door, and we will send Duck over with the typewriter. Sincerely, the cows. I did not see that coming, but I really like that compromise. In order to get what they wanted, they offered to make a trade. I like that idea. Farmer Brown decided this was a good deal. He left the blankets next to the barn door and waited for Duck to come with the typewriters. Wow, look at that. That compromise totally worked, and everybody got what they wanted. The next morning, he got a note. Dear Farmer Brown, the pond is quite boring. We'd like a diving board. Sincerely, the ducks. Click, clack, quack. Click, clack, quack. Clickety, clack, quack. Now, this story is a perfect example of how to use this strategy writing to change the world. The cows really did have to sit down and ask themselves the questions above. They went through this list and they said, what would you like to see change? And the cows sat all together in their barn and they said, well, it's really cold. Then they asked themselves, what do you wish was different? And they said, well, instead of feeling really cold every day, maybe we could have some electric blankets and that would fix our problem. And then they said, who could help us make that change? And they all agreed that Farmer Brown was the person to go to with their complaint. Step 1 for today is to go back to look at your pre-writing activities from last week. That means that you're going to pull out your web from when you walked your world, and you're also going to pull up your collages from when you scrapbooked your life. I'm looking at my scrapbook collage and I'm looking at my web from when I walked my world, and I'm thinking to myself, which one of these things do I feel the most strongly about? Because if I'm going to write an opinion piece on something, it should be a topic that I really care a lot about. Otherwise, I'm not going to have much to say because I won't need to convince my audience of what I'm saying. So I could write about how Washington school rules all schools, but I think that most people believe me. I could write about the best vacation spot. I do really like Hawaii. I feel like lots of people already think that's true too. Let's see, from my web, I could write about how my neighborhood needs more recycling bins, bigger ones so we can fit more cardboard. That would be a good one, but I don't feel super passionate about that. Oh, I have a great idea. Cruise! And I don't know if I've ever told you, but my nephew Cruz actually lives in LA, so he lives very far, and I only get to see him a few times a year. It's basically the biggest bummer of my life. Now, I've been trying to convince my sister to move here for a long time, so this might be my perfect opportunity to convince her. Now that I have devised my brilliant plan, I need to ask myself a few questions because, of course, if I'm going to write to change the world, I need to have these thoughts organized. So the first thing I need to ask myself is, what would you like to see change? Well, you know the answer to that question. I would like to see my nephew cruise more often. What do I wish was different? Well, naturally, I wish that Cruz lived here. And who could help me make that change? That's not me. This is my sister, and that's Cruz's mom, and she's the one that I must convince. I think I can do it. Once you have completed step 1, which remember was to go back and to look at your pre-writing activities, which included your scrapbook collages and your web from when you walked your world to help you choose a topic, then you're ready for step 2, which is going to be to complete this worksheet. Now you'll have 2 options. You can either print it from Google Classroom or you can edit the template on Seesaw. That's your choice. Now let me show you how to complete this worksheet. Completing this worksheet is really easy. All you have to do is read the questions at the top of each column. So in column 1, it says, what would you like to see change? Like I said, I would like to see my nephew cruise more often. So I wrote that in box 1. In the second column, the question at the top says, what do you wish was different? Again, I wish Cruz lived closer to me. So I wrote that in box number 2. In column 3, the question says, who could help you make that change? And the answer to that question is, my sister Jade is the person who can make that change because she's Cruz's mom and she gets to decide where he lives. So I wrote that answer in box number 3. Now my worksheet is ready to submit on Seesaw. Now let's review the steps to complete today's assignment. In order to write to change the world, complete step 1. So use your web and your collage to help you choose a topic. Remember to choose a topic that you feel super strongly about. That way, it's really easy for you to come up with reasons and ways to convince your audience that what you're arguing is actually true. Now, second, complete the graphic organizer. You have 2 choices for this step. You can either print the worksheet and complete it by hand, or you can just edit the template directly on Seesaw. And step 3, of course, is to submit a photo or the edited template on Seesaw. I can't wait to see how you write to change the world today. Good luck!